Hey guys, it's Michelle from the Cozy Egg Podcast. You can find my blog at cozyegg.cozyeggdesigns.com. And then you can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, Ravelry, and YouTube as Cozy Egg. Today is Sunday, February 7th, 2016, of course. And this is episode 11. So, welcome back. And if you're new, joining for the first time, thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope you will continue to do so. So, it's been a while since I recorded. You know how it is. I put it in my calendar every week, and then things just happen. So, but I am going to work on being more regular with my recording. And I'm also working on posting to my blog a little bit more frequently. I had, when I looked back at last year and the number of posts that I posted, they were few and far between. So I definitely want to change that this year. I'd like to get on a schedule of posting weekly and then recording every other week. So that's my plan. Keep me honest and ask me where I am if you haven't seen a post. So anyway, that's the plan. So obviously I haven't recorded since late last year. And so Happy New Year to all of you. Happy February. We're now just finishing out that first week of February. So the year is trucking right along. So I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of things, just kind of administrative stuff. So along with talking about the blog and infrequent posts and that sort of thing. One of the things that I did come to realize that, so year before last, at the end of 2014, I moved my blog from Blogspot, where it had been since I started it in 2006. I moved it over to my own domain, the cozyeggdesigns.com domain. And got it moved, no problems. I had the where it was on Blogspot redirecting to my new domain, no issues. Well, just recently I found out that anyone that was following my blog through a feed burner, feed reader kind of thing, like Blog Loving or feed burner, whatever, Feedly, that the feed itself was not updated. So it was still pulling from the Blogspot address. So it looked, for all intents and purposes, that I had not been updating my blog in a year, which I have, although infrequently. I have been updating it. And then, of course, I started doing this podcast in January of last year. So, obviously there's been some stuff going on, but anybody that was just, looking for posts through their reader wasn't seeing them show up. So I adjusted the feed. Now my blog is showing up again for everyone. So hopefully you can go back, you can get caught up. Of course, you can see the episodes of the podcast directly on my blog, or you can go to YouTube. You can subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and that way you'll get notification every time there's a new podcast episode. And the other way that you can stay in touch, stay informed, is you can sign up for my mailing list on my blog. If you go up to the top, there's a little, a contact tab, and you can sign up for my mailing list to get basically, a newsletter, which is every time I post, you would get that directly into your email box. So, easy peasy. I'm trying to make it easy for you guys to keep up with me and see what I'm up to and know when there's a new post or a new video or whatever. So definitely feel free to subscribe there, subscribe to YouTube. One of these days I will get my stuff over to iTunes so you can subscribe there easily as well. Because I find for me, with my iTunes subscriptions, you know, those podcasts just come directly, boom, they're on my iPad, no big deal. The YouTube videos, obviously I get notification when there's a new one, but then I have to go out to YouTube and look at them. So it's an extra step. So I appreciate those of you that are doing that. Anyway, so I think that's kind of all the blog stuff. And certainly if you are on Instagram or Pinterest or Twitter or, you know, Ravelry, whatever, feel free to follow me there. I would love that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my plan for 2016. If you follow me on Instagram or you know, have seen this on my blog, you already kind of know what my 2016 plan is. But I thought I'd talk about it just a little more in depth. So last year, I really worked on getting my quilt whips dealt with. You know, I had several that had been hanging around for, you know, as long as I've been quilting. And I really wanted to start working on getting some of those things finished. And there was a kind of a quilt along, sew your stash, you know, that sort of thing over on Instagram. So I was participating in that. And, you know, I just started with the oldest quilt first, the oldest whip first, and I just focused on that until it was done. And then I moved on to the next one. So that worked really well for me last year. I got several quilt tops and quilts themselves finished. Which I feel really, really good about. So I thought to myself, you know, this year in 2016, I really want to focus on my stitching whips and knocking some of those out because it's an ungodly number, which the number itself doesn't bother me so much as, you know, like my quilt whips, I'd really like to have these pieces finished, framed, you know, hung on the wall so that I can enjoy them rather than be, you know, stuffed in a bag in a closet half done. And the majority of my whips are still whips because, not because I fell out of love with them, but because I ran into some sort of an issue with them, like I had to change threads, or I made a mistake and I was going to have to rip a bunch out, or, you know, I was going to have to, you know, make some changes in the design, you know, that sort of thing. So it's like I run into that obstacle and whoop, throw it in the closet, done. So I want to get those things out and just know I'm going to have to work through whatever I have to work through in order to move forward and get these things done because, you know, I would really love to have them finished and have the finished product. So that's kind of where I started from. And so I went and I looked at my stitching whips and realized that, you know, the oldest one, which is from like 2000, 2002, you know, something along those lines. I realized that if I took the same approach that I did with my quilt whips, which is to start with the oldest one and move forward, if I started with that oldest stitching whip, I was never going to get anywhere because it's a sampler. It's over 1 on 32 count, and it's just really involved, which is why it's still a whip. Over 1, I'm so slow at stitching over 1, and especially on that small account, it just takes forever to feel like you're making progress. So I thought, you know what, I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot. I'm not going to just, right out of the gate, put myself in a position where I'm likely to, toss the whole plan aside. So what can I do? So I had seen on Instagram several people that for their books that they want to read, they created themselves a TBR jar or a to be read jar. And so they put their books that they want to read in their jar, and as they finish one, they pull another one out and read that book. And I thought, what a cool idea. And so since I set myself a goal on Goodreads again this year to read 25 books. I got nowhere close to it last year, which I talked about, I think, in the last podcast. But I've set myself another goal of 25 books. And so I picked some books that I just really, really wanted to read. Either books that I have sitting on my shelf or books that I don't have yet that I'm really interested in reading. And so I made myself my own little to be read jar, TBR jar. So here it is. And I just, reused a jar that I had. I think peppercorns were in here. I printed off this little Hogwarts library, checkout card, which I thought was fun. It's got, Ron Weasley on there and, Malfoy, etc. So anyway, I just thought that this was fun, and I just, attached that to my jar, and then I put the names of the books on these little slips of paper. And so when I get ready to start another book, this is what I'm just going to pull the next one out of the hat, out of the jar, and that's the book that I will read. So I loved that idea, that concept of, pulling the next one sort of randomly. And so I decided that's what I'm going to do with my stitching WIPs. So I decided to start with 10. And so I picked 9 WIPs that I have that I'm interested in working on. And I put all 9 of those on little slips of paper. And then the 10th one, what I did was I gave myself a wild card. And so it's a seasonal wild card. So if I pick that one, it means that I will work on something seasonal, for whatever season I'm in. And it can be a new start, it can be a current WIP, etc. So I have 9 WIPs that I chose and then 1 seasonal wild card. And I put them in this little box. I made these little boxes, I painted and decorated these little boxes for my board members of the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild as I was finishing out my second year as president of the guild. I made these for my board members, and it's just one of those little paper mache boxes that you can get at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or wherever. And I painted it. I put the little Tudor Rose on top, Brie waxed it, and then on the inside there's felt in the bottom. So I printed out some little slips with my WIPs on there. And so then my plan was January 1st, I would pull my first WIP out. And instead of having a new start, on January 1st, like I normally do, I would just start on my first WIP. And so that's what I did. So I pulled that out, and the first WIP that came out, which you probably know if you've seen it on Instagram or on my blog, I actually did a blog post about it, was my hairpins. And I meant to bring it in here, completely forgot. But that's okay. There is a whole blog post on hairpins. It's a little sewing roll. And so really all I had left to work on that was to finish the finishing of it. And so I pulled it out, and I'm so glad that that was the first one that came out of the hat, because I just recently worked on that. I really wanted to get it finished, and because I had just recently worked on it, I knew how close I was to finishing it. So that came out on January 1st. I worked on it, did my finishing, and I got it finished up, within a couple of weeks of starting on that. So that was my first finish of 2016, which I'm so excited about. And so once I finished hairpins, then I went back and drew my next project, and I will show you that here in a minute as part of my whips. So anyway, that's my plan for January, or for 2016. I'm loving how it's working so far. The 2 projects that I've pulled out of the box were perfect. As soon as I pulled them out, I was like, yes. So, but I think it's important to put pieces in there that I was actually interested in working on. I didn't want to, pick something and go, well, can I have something else? I don't really want that. So I'm just going to work on that whip until it's done, and then I'll pull the next one. And hopefully I will be able to get through all 10 whips, or all 10 choices, by the end of the year. I would feel phenomenal if I am able to do that. And I tried to pick a little bit of variety between larger whips that are more involved, some sort of medium-sized ones. And then I've also given myself free reign to work on smalls, ornaments, that sort of thing, just throughout the year. Because I knew that if I got, if I started working on a piece that was going to be really long and really involved, I might kind of lose my momentum. And so I thought, if I could, have a travel project that's a small or an ornament, and be able to work on it and feel, successful, feel like I finished something, then by all means. And then I can go back to my big, focus project. Plus, if I'm working on something huge, I may or may not want to take it to Guild or take it, to go stitching with my friends. So I figured if I had smalls or ornaments, I can work on those. So anyway, so that's what I'm working on for 2016. That's my plan. And of course, you can go to the blog and take a look at my hairpins and see all the photos of that and see it finished. So that's been a whip since 2011. So I'm super excited that it's finished. And so kind of along those same lines of finishing things, since I am working on smalls or ornaments or whatever, on Sundays, I typically do, my laundry and cleaning the house and all that kind of stuff. And that, because I'm doing laundry and stuff, that's usually the night that I will sit down and I will do mending in the evening. And so I thought Sunday night would be a perfect night to do, kind of a handwork project. Be that, working on my Hex on the Beach quilt, or hand sewing, hand quilting, whatever, that sort of thing. So, or finishing. So I sat down, not this past weekend, but the one before that. I think that was like the 24th or so of January. And I decided, you know what? Handwork Sunday. I'm going to institute that, and I think I'm going to pull out my name tag for my EGA chapter that has been ready to be finished for months now. I think I showed, I talked last episode about making twisted cording. And so I had made the cording for it. It was all ready to go. I just needed to finish it up, sew that cording on, etc. So I got my name tag out, and this has my last name on it, so I'm going to try to kind of cover that up. But I got it finished. So I made this pretty beaded lanyard for it. I attached it with just I sewed some little rings on there, and I sewed on my twisted cording. And this one I basically just made it kind of like, you know, I put some quilt batting in between the two layers, sewed it together because I knew I was going to be putting these pins on here, so I needed it to be able to go through, and I didn't want it to be, you know, hard in the middle, like with a piece of cardboard or something like you do with ornaments. So yeah, so I'm really happy with that. This is obviously a blue bonnet. It's made with ribbon, done in French knots. So I finished this, and then I was able to wear it to EGA for, you know, that following Tuesday. So I was so happy to have this done. So happy that I finally had my name tag after, you know, years of being a member. And so then I was so pleased with that last Sunday I decided I will work on my name tag for my Tudor Rose Guild. And so here is my Tudor Rose name tag. This has been stitched for, you know, probably 5 years, 6 years, something like that. You can see the little queen stitches on there and little eyelet stitches, satin stitches. And this is dark green. I don't know if you can see that. The light's a little, but anyway. So I got this finished. This one is hard. It's got cardboard in there, just like you would finish an ornament. And so got the cording sewn on that, got the pieces put together, sewed my little loops on, and had my lanyard, strung the beads for my lanyard. These little black bicones here are a little bit iridescent, so they really kind of play in the light, which I thought was fun. I actually bought these at the bead show like, you know, 10 years ago or something. Anyway, so I finished this, and then on Tuesday night, this past week, I got to wear this to Tudor Rose meeting. So I'm so happy to have these done. Oh, and I didn't show you here's the fabric on the back of that, the other one. So happy to have these done. And I have a couple more ornaments that just need to have their cording sewn on as well to be finished. So that's probably what I'll work on tonight, you know, or with my next hand sewing Sunday. So, and then, so that's all the stitching, finishing that I have. I don't have any quilt finishing to show you, or finished objects to show you, but obviously I have knitting finish to share. This is my Weigh It shawl, my very first shawl ever. This is knit with Miss Babs Yowza in the Zombie Prom colorway. And this is Weigh It Shawl #1 by Susan B. Anderson. So I love it. I really, really love it. And I'll take it off here so that so I can show it to you. So it's kind of a crescent shape. And you can see the little, and then it's got this ruffle at the bottom. And my skein of the Zombie Prom, you know, started off light, so I started that at the top, and then it gets a little bit darker down near the bottom. So I really liked the way that looked, and so I specifically chose to, you know, go from that end of the skein or of the cake, from the lighter to the darker. So yeah, thrilled. Anyway, this was a perfect choice, I think, for a first shawl, because, you know, it's called the Weigh It shawl, and so really the way that the pattern is set up is that you know, knit, 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 knit until you get to a certain weight. And then you start your ruffle border. And then you knit, 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 knit until you get to a certain weight. And then you bind off. So it was a really good choice for me because I didn't have to count rows. I wasn't having to really, follow a pattern so much where I was having to switch back and forth, that sort of thing. So this was a really, really good choice for a first shawl. I'm thrilled with it. The pattern actually did call for a picot bind off, which I did not do. I tried it twice. So the first time I tried it, I did not like it. It was just my stitches were too loose or something, and it just looked horrendous. So I ripped it out, and then I tried it again, and I got much better tension on my stitches. And I got about to the halfway mark, and then realized two things. One, I don't think I'm going to have enough yarn to finish this, even though I started, with the amount of weight that I needed to have left. I think just because of the way that I knit, I was taking up too much yarn, and I was not going to be able to get all the way across. And then the other thing I realized is, there's so much going on with this ruffle that I didn't want to add a picot bind off to. It was too much, I thought, especially out here at the end where it just gets kind of curly. So I opted to do the Russian bind off that she gives as an alternate instead of doing the picot, and I'm very happy with it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's so squishy soft, and I just love it. Absolutely love it. So I have everything, yarn, pattern, needles, etc. to do the way at shawl number 2. And I will probably start on that soon-ish. So anyway, there's my first shawl. I'm so happy. So that's it for finishes. So let's talk about whips, what I'm working on. So stitching wise, so obviously I've picked my next, project out of the little whip, the choice, what am I trying to say? This box. Picked the next one, and it was Anniversaries of the Heart, which is a series of patterns by Blackbird Designs. They put these out monthly-ish. And really what it is it's a series of charts that they call it Anniversaries of the Heart because they are intended for you to personalize each block with, your own family's anniversaries, birthdays, etc. And so in here, I'm going to try to not show you the chart. Here is kind of the layout of how, and you can, you could stitch these individually. You could just stitch one, but if you wanted to stitch all 12 plus the bonus charts, this was kind of the layout. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm stitching all of mine together on one piece of fabric, and I am up to the March block. Let me actually show you. So I've done January, I've done February, I did this bonus block. All of those are on my blog. You can see those. I'm working on March, and I've stitched June, which is, I stitched this one for my dad, and it was important to me to go ahead and stitch that one right after he died. So anyway, so here is the March block. It's called A Wish for You, and it's got this cute little brick house. It's got the little 4-leaf clovers, or 3-leaf clovers, I suppose, little bunny etc. And so this is the pattern that I'm working on, and here is my progress. And I'm stitching this. This is all on 40 count. It's Lakeside Linen. I think it is Vintage Light Exemplar, I think is the color. And you're getting a little blueness to it because of the light, but that's maybe a little better. Anyway, so that's how it's coming along. I'm enjoying it. I've had to change a couple of colors, which is probably why I put this away, you know, when I did, because this inside fill-in color for the windows, my skein of that color that they called for is exactly the same color as the outline of the windows. So I had to go back to the drawing board there. And then this little foundation right here, what they wanted you to do is blend the two colors of thread that are the bricks and like use one strand of each and stitch your little foundation here. Well, since I'm stitching this on 40 count, I'm using one strand of thread, so I couldn't do that. So a friend of mine suggested using the window outline color for down here, and that's exactly what I did, and I'm happy with the way it looks. So it's coming along, and I'm going to be personalizing this one for Eric's grandparents. They both had birthdays in March, and so I thought this is the perfect block to personalize for them. So, and this is in my project bag. It's a mesh bag that a friend of mine made me, and the zipper pull is a little miniature horn book that has my initial on it, and I just love it. So that's where that's living, and it's on my Q-snap. So, which is how I prefer to, you know, hold my pieces that I'm stitching is in a Q-snap rather than a hoop or rather than in hand. So that's my focus project that I'm working on. And then knitting wise, instead of jumping right into my next shawl, I got to thinking the other day, and I had this old knitting whip that I was gonna knit a wrap, but it was basically just gonna be like a big rectangle. And I decided I don't love that idea anymore. And so I pulled it out, ripped it all out, and decided I really want to make a scarf with this particular yarn. So the yarn, and I just, you know, balled it up. So the yarn is, it's this, you know, Lion brand homespun. I know all you knitters are probably cringing at that. And then the colorway is Nouveau. And, you know, I realized that I really do love this color. I think it's really pretty. I love the feel of this yarn. It's really soft and squishy. And I thought, you know, I would really love to have a scarf out of this, like a big, long, you know, that I can wrap it around several times, squishy scarf. So, and I actually have 2 skeins of this if I need it. So that's my plan. And so I, you know, went looking for a free, you know, scarf pattern, and I came up with the pattern from pearlsoho.com, and this is called the Mistake Rib Scarf. I didn't print out the photo, but it's basically a ribbed scarf, but instead of doing like, you know, 2 knit stitches, 2 purl stitches, 2 knit stitches, or, you know, whatever you're going to do, you're off by 1. And so it, instead of being a rib that kind of goes, you know, up and down like this, it's kind of going like this. So, you know, with this yarn being this, you know, curly homespunny yarn, you're probably not going to see that, but I don't care. But it's a simple enough pattern that I can follow, and we'll just see how it goes. So anyway, here's my very small start on that. And, you know, it's fun. This, the pattern's fun anyway. This homespun yarn, maybe not quite as fun. It's kind of a pain to knit with. But anyway, so there's my start. I'm using my Addi Turbos which is what I had my little wrap on. And I think these are size 10s. And these are definitely not as sharp as my signatures. But we're going to give these a try, see how it goes. I'll report back. But I thought it would just be kind of a fun, you know, easy thing to do. Plus, yeah, these are size 10s, Addi Turbos. We'll see how it goes. You know, what's the worst that's going to happen? I rip it out again and decide I hate this yarn. I'm not making anything with it. So anyway, that's my other whip that I wanted to share. And I think that that's it for the whips. Stash enhancement. I had a few things that I meant to show you when I talked about all my glamp stuff, and I just really didn't get the chance to. So I pulled those out. The other things that I had that I got from Glamp Stitch a Lot, this was the other pack of charm squares that we got from Laishin. I don't know how to say that. But anyway, these are cute. And they also gave us an issue of Quilt Now magazine. I already opened this up, but it came with some 1-inch hexie templates, which was fabulous. I will definitely use those. I love this magazine. It's a little expensive to buy, you know, every month, but so I was really happy to get a copy of this one. And then I also picked up my Tula Pink coloring book that I had pre-ordered. And my Tula Pink dealer was also at Glamp, so I picked this up from her so that I could have Tula sign it. So she signed it for me, which I'm very excited about. So I think that was kind of the rest of my Glamp stuff. But then I also got a couple of gifts that were sort of belated birthday gifts that I wanted to share. So a friend of mine gave me these cave facet fat quarters, and I love how they're in this sort of star shape, how they're folded. Isn't that fun? Just love them. They're so pretty. You can't go wrong with cave. So a few years ago for my birthday, she bought me one of the cave books that has some gorgeous, gorgeous quilts in it. So I think I may be saving these to use for one of those. And then the same friend, she also stitched me this beautiful, beautiful chatelaine necklace. It's just gorgeous, obviously with my initial on it. It's just so pretty. She does beautiful work. And then the back of it just has this little piece of fabric over the back. So pretty. Love it. So I get lots of compliments on this every time I wear it. Just gorgeous. So many, many thanks to her. And then another friend who I've been working on hexies with got me one of the hexie packs from I Heart Tula Pink, which is ihearttulapink.com is their site. And these little packs are so fun. They come obviously with a needle, And then inside you get, I think it's like 100. 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares to make your hexies with, and this is all in Elizabeth fabric. You get a little spool of Aurifil in a coordinating color. You get all of the little 1-inch hexie papers that you need, and then the instructions on how to, make hexies if you've never done that before. So it's a cute little all-in-one kit. And, I love them. This is the only one that I have. I'm thrilled that she bought this for me and gave it to me as a birthday gift. So I'm excited for that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those hexies yet, but I don't have to know. So anyway, super cute. And then the other... this isn't really stash, but I thought I would share. For Black Friday, I took advantage of one of the sales, and I purchased an Erin Condren planner. And I have, for the most part, I use an electronic calendar. I use an electronic to-do list, etc. But I've been doing a lot of research on using actual paper planners and kind of the benefits of doing that. And so I'm really enjoying being able to, put all that in there. I've just been, putting all my to-dos and everything. And then at the back, there's a place to put notes, which is fun. It comes with some stickers, etc. One of the things that I've got back here is my stitching focus list. So these are the pieces that are in my Tudor Rose box for stitching Roulette. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I'm really loving that so far, and I've found it to be really helpful. So if you're thinking about getting a planner, I'm really loving the Erin Condren, and I thought I would give it a try, and we'll see how it goes. So reading. Like I mentioned, I set myself a goal again on Goodreads of doing 25 books this year. I did finish this at the end of last year. I worked really hard those last few days of December trying to get things finished. My Way at Shawla actually finished on the morning of... Okay, real quick, I'm just going to finish this up. So what I'm reading right now is Eric bought me this book I've been wanting for a while for Christmas. It's called Make It Happen by Laura Casey. And it's really about, figuring out your purpose and then living on purpose. And I'm really enjoying it. It's been something to, it's not just a quick read that you just blow through. It takes a lot of thinking and working through some things. And so I've been working on that. And then I also started another book that was actually a free download ebook off of Amazon called The Story of Awkward. Let's see if I can show that to you without. So by R.K. Riles. And this is really, it's a lot like Rainbow Rowell's writing, and so I've really been enjoying that. It's a quick little read too. So that's what I've been reading. And the only other thing I wanted to share is a friend of mine bought me this beautiful diffuser necklace. And this is for using with my essential oils. There's a little piece of felt on the inside, and then you just drop your essential oil in there. And I thought one of, something I might do at the end of my little podcasts is to share, one essential oil that I'm using and kind of what it's used for. And so what I've got in my diffuser necklace is Valor. This is Young Living essential oil. And Valor is a blend of spruce, blue tansy, frankincense, and rosewood. And what Valor is used for, it's an empowering blend that promotes feelings of strength, courage, and protection when diffused. Valor has also been found to support energy alignment in the body. So that's what I'm using today in my diffuser necklace. I love this oil. It smells really, really good. So that's your oil of the week. And if you want more info about essential oils, you can visit my Cozy Life site. You can get to it from cozyeggdesigns.com and then go to Cozy Life and contact me there, and I'm happy to talk to you a little bit more about essential oils. And I think that's it for this week. So come visit me, cozyeggdesigns.com. And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Ravelry, etc. as Cozy Egg. On YouTube as Cozy Egg. And all the show notes for this episode will be up on the blog. So have a great week. Thanks so much for joining, and I'll talk to you next time.